What's up, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more Dubstar. And I'd like to start by once again giving a shout out to Philip for not only enabling this journey, but for suggesting it in the first place. As I mentioned in the first couple reactions, this is a synth pop / dream pop group that got started, I think in the sort of Tyneside or like Newcastle area in the early 90s, and their first album is 95 called Disgraceful. Very interesting title for an album. I've enjoyed the first couple tunes. Definitely, it's a synth pop sound, but, not quite the same sound as, a lot of groups from the 80s. Of course, that's a gross oversimplification. Lots of different synth pop sounds in the 80s. But yeah, what I'm saying is it has a sort of, a more modernized, shall we say. You can tell that it's not something from like 82 or 83, but it still has that sort of, the aspects that make synth pop so compelling, certainly for me and many other people as well. So yeah, we're going to listen to the third tune, which is called Just a Girl, She Said. There's no comma, which, technically, the way I'm reading the phrase, there would be a syntactically necessary comma after girl. Just a girl, she said, which would relate to sort of a retrospective assessment of some earlier comment by a female, apparently. Now, just a girl as a phrase, it is in a way, it makes me think of a dismissive phrase, the idea of like, oh, it's just a girl, therefore it's not super important, or you don't have to worry, there's no danger. The nature of that phrase would suggest something dismissive to me. Now, again, it might not be that. It might just relate to the simplicity or the innocence. Oh, it's just a girl, so don't do that because, she's not an adult or something. So there's all sorts of, possible angles on the phrase. But yeah, as one straight shot, just the girl, she said, the semantics, or the syntax, I should say, sort of breaks down, and I'm not quite sure what to make of it. It becomes a sort of collection of words without a clear, semantic trail. Nevertheless, I am curious how it might play out. I do think it is probably, as I'm thinking of it, just, without the comma, because it's, a stylized song title, so we don't need perfect grammatical or syntactic precision. Nevertheless, I'm not quite sure where the song will go, but let's find out. This is Dubstar. The tune is Just the Girl, She Said, and it's from their 1995 album Disgraceful. It feels smoother, more mellow, but that opening was intense.
It's alright, I'm just a girl, she said.
I'm just a girl, she said.
To me and take me to bed. I don't feel, I don't think, and I don't really matter at all.
It is dismissive, but self-dismissive.
Kiss me in darkness and turn out the light. Pretend you're with someone else tonight. You don't feel, you don't think, and I don't really understand why. I'm a person who speaks, I'm a person who thinks, but you all I forget that you ply me with drinks, and you cannot buy me and you cannot use me, but I know that you want to try.
This is darker than I thought.
I'm just a girl, she said. You can't buy me and take me to bed, 'cause I think, 'cause I feel, and you don't really matter at all. I'm a person who speaks and a person who thinks. You hope I forget that you ply me with drinks, and you cannot buy me and you cannot use me, but I know that you want to try.
The sonics and the lyrics are perpendicular. I enjoy it, but it's... If I just heard this, I would not think the subject matter is what it sounds like.
Don't look in my eyes, you may be sincere.
found myself like laser focused on the lyrics a bit more than the song itself. That is fascinating. I mean, I feel like there's some different directions in it. Generally speaking, it felt like a song that was like critical of these guys who were coming and trying to ply her with drinks and, you know, use her and take her to bed and just sort of treat her like, you know, a disposable object. But then there were some other lines where it's sort of like, I have no thoughts of my own and I'm just sort of like, I'm going along with what's happening here. Which again, maybe those are ironic, or maybe, you know, it's a person who's sort of caught in two minds where, like, you know, they realize they're being used and they don't want to be part of it, but, you know, they constantly, like, guys are trying to sort of approach them and treat them in this way. So yeah, it felt like there was maybe a couple different directions, but it's definitely a sort of dark tune in terms of the lyrics, in terms of, like, you know, what her expectations are about the guys she meets and what they want from her, the way they see her, and it's an interesting sort of psychological inspection. It sounds like, you know, whether or not some of those lines are a bit ironic and like she really is just taking a more critical view of, you know, what these guys are trying to do and the way they keep approaching her. You know, they're definitely going to try, even though she's a person who can see through what they're trying to do. Either way, it's like a really interesting psychological exploration on her part. So yeah, cool tune, interesting. It's one of those tunes that this contrast, which, you know, I was comparing it to 80s synth pop. You know, I've talked about, you know, groups, you know, let's say like Erasure or something, or obviously Depeche Mode, where they'll make a tune that either has very bright lyrics and a dark sound, or vice versa. It has very dark lyrics but a bright sound. And that sort of, it fit into sort of a tradition, seemingly, of synth pop tunes that explore that sort of contrast, that perpendicular construction. So do let me know what you think. Once again, shout out to Philip. Really cool tune. Looking forward to the rest of this album and then some. So let me know what you think. I'll see you next time. Peace.